What up, everyone? It's your boy Red Hawk. It is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. Happy July, by the way. It is now 8:49 a.m. in the morning, and I'm going to talk about crucial updates these past few weeks. So, June 12th, a few Fridays ago, I graduated from Glendale Community College, Los Angeles, GCC-LA, and let's just say I couldn't feel more proud of myself as a couple of lady friends, one from one of my former workplaces and the other from high school many years ago, were my guests. I was expecting like maybe 8 people, but only 2 people came to my graduation. Nonetheless, 2 guests are better than no one. With one of my lady friends, we stayed at a hotel in Rosemead, and this was like for a couple of days. Just that is so that she could explore more of LA, since she's from the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Riverside. With my newfound lady friend accompanying me, we actually explored Santa Monica and Hollywood for the most part. We even got to see the Hollywood sign, which we took a lot of photos of. Other activities also included riding the Pacific Ferris wheel at Santa Monica Pier, as well as playing Top Gun Maverick in the Playland Arcade Center, also at the pier. Summer 2026 semester has kicked off at Cypress College, and I am currently taking UAS drone operator basics at Cypress. This last Saturday, June 27th, my company held a soccer game, and I came up with the Grey Wolves team. It was like 5 people on our team, and we had to substitute our original players with 3 people in certain games. I was inadvertently made team captain and player coach, even though I didn't know jack squat what the hell I was doing with just playing soccer overall. Although my team got swept in all 3 games against Team Messi, Barcelona FC, and Alpha Ones, we managed to score at least 1 goal. And like the principal for my guests for my GCC-LA graduation, 1 goal is better than nothing. And another underlying principle that I had while playing in the company's soccer tournament is you either win or you learn. This helped me demonstrate a great deal of sportsmanship and camaraderie towards my co-workers who were also in the tournament. Now back to education. Me having gotten the education that I have, and especially after graduation from GCC-LA, I just have to say to all of you that is my friendly way of saying that I am not going to be a Chief Petty Officer in the United States Navy, let alone Senior Chief or Master Chief. No offense to anybody wearing anchors out there, but somebody else that's better than me can get those anchors. I'm going to set my boundaries here. I am not one of you. I am built different, and I am built tougher, and I am meant for something else. That is my boundary right there. Not to mention that a lot of the bad eggs within the goat locker, the thugs, the shrews, and the overall idiots, well, let's just say they spoiled a lot of things for me when it comes to making up my mind to either stay in the Navy or not many years ago. And so I set my boundaries, and I will tell you now that the education that I got is more meant for my continued service in United States Army Green as a soldier and aviation technician working on helicopters. Technically speaking, I have actually managed to complete all the core courses for aviation administration AS because I had taken classes from both GCC-LA and Cypress College. And I've managed to send my transcripts crossways to both schools. That being said, all that's left for me to take in order to actually get my AS in the mail is to take up electives that would satisfy the minimum 12 semester credit residency at GCC-LA. And for that, instead of taking AT-121 Air Navigation and AT-126 or 129 Flight Attendant 1, I'll actually be taking Music 101, Intro to Music, Dance 115, Modern Dance Techniques, and Dance 101, Intro to Dance. This is also to pretty much go back to the roots of the family I was born into, even though I am not musically inclined, but rather inclined towards sports, martial arts, and body dynamics, aka dancing. Speaking of martial arts as well, I got back to Gardena Japanese Community Center last night in order to officially start training in Naginata-do under senseis Juan Hernandez, Ruben Ramirez, and Helen Nakano. I just couldn't wait. I mean, I have a little cousin who took up Eskrima, and I'm a little bit apprehensive because of the stickiness towards the Filipino aspects of Eskrima. And so I made up my mind that I was going to take something different for melee combat. And so I decided it was either going to be Kendo or Naginata-do. Considering that the Kendo is more widespread than Naginata-do, I veered my needle towards the latter, since Naginata-do is essentially akin to bayonet fighting in the hand-to-hand combat module for the United States Army and the US Marine Corps. I was thinking about having this segment as a separate one exclusively because it had been a great deal to me, what with 20 plus years of struggling from my teenage years. But I think it's high time that I tell you folks about a certain girl named Allison Bolanos. That one Filipina girl who my biological father tried to hook me up with, yet failed in basically becoming my significant other. That is not to say that I have any hate for the young lady. It's just that there were some relatives in my birth family that had told me that she and I were incompatible in the end. What with the toxicity surrounding my biological father and stepmother, but not necessarily her grandmother or her mother. It was mostly Biodad and Biodad's second wife. Folks, I gotta tell you right now, before we delve further into the Allison thing, I'm just gonna have to say this. I never graduated from Reseda High School under the Science Magnet program, and so I didn't get any of the awards pertaining to academic achievement and community service within the school's organization. I instead graduated from Coolidge High School on May 29, 2007, with a GPA of 3.42. As disappointed as I was with not having graduated as a magnet student, I'm going to have to say that the biggest honor that I ever got was taking classes beyond marketing management from Cal Poly Pomona and aviation administration from Glendale Community College. That is getting my credits for being an aviation electrician's mate in the Navy, as well as taking classes in theater, Japanese, French, Italian, and miscellaneous aeronautics courses pertaining to my aviation admin degree from GCC-LA. Topped it off with dance and music courses from GCC-LA to wrap it all up. I guess academically for undergrad, things are now starting to come full circle for me. And that in and of itself is one of the happiest things that I could ever experience in this lifetime. For all the disappointments about certain dreams never happening on my end, as I am now pushing late 30s to early 40s, I gotta say, things have become the happiest for me. Even though I experienced a lot of familial tragedies in the past. These dreams, they included not becoming a talk show host, not becoming an actor, like in the vein of Tom Cruise and Jim Carrey or Yul Brynner, not becoming a Navy fighter pilot and going to Top Gun to become a tactics instructor, and or being a naval aviator in other communities like anti-submarine or helicopters. Nonetheless, because of some of the awful things that I experienced in the fleet, especially social issues regarding race and even gender and even educational level, a lot of things have been spoiled for me. And so I made up my mind that I was just going to do my 4 years of enlistment and then basically set myself up for self-betterment in order for me to overcome my past and essentially beat a majority of my Navy colleagues in life, so to speak. Alright, so those out of the way, we are now going to delve into what went wrong with me and this particular Filipina girl named Allison. Where do I even start? 2005. Out of nowhere, as I was starting junior year at Reseda High School, Reseda, California, Bio Dad gleefully, yet devilishly, showed me photos of this particular girl, Allison. All I can remember was that she was sitting on a picnic table at a park somewhere, and she was wearing a rather short-sleeved t-shirt, yellow or gold was it, and a pair of Daisy Duke jean shorts like what Jessica Simpson wore in the 2005 version of The Dukes of Hazzard. Bio Dad started a conversation in which he said that this girl needs help. This girl has to reunite with her mother and grandmother here in America. And you, Reiji, might be the one to help. Having no sense of boundary at all, and experiencing a great deal of cognitive dissonance because of being an SA victim and just being bullied by a good number of relatives and classmates in school, I was confused. Of course, back then I was a brown noser and basically a yes boy. And so, wanting to please my own biological father, I told him, "Sure thing, Dad. I'll do my best to help her." Little did I know that stepmother would chime in with her evil ambitions in the back of her mind and basically just harangue and pester me regarding taking this girl to America for her chance towards a better life. Out of nowhere, in late fall that year, October was it, I was forced to sign a birthday card that had the electronic tune rendition of "Happy Birthday to You." And up until the time that I saw my therapist this last Monday, it disturbed me. The beep 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 beep. All while stepmom was forcing me to sign it for Allison, I was gigantically dismayed, for lack of a better word. I mean, all I ever wanted to do while under the quote-unquote care, or rather the tyranny of Bio Dad and Bio Dad's second wife, was that I wanted to please him. I wanted to get my A's and B's in school, just so they could possibly help me out with the paying for university studies later on. or even go to community college right after high school. But alas, I didn't go to college right after high school. Rather, I enlisted in the Navy out of frustration with those two. Not to mention all the pushing that they did regarding Allison, which I just didn't like overall and put a sour, rotten taste in my mouth. I couldn't ask anybody for help about this, really, as my dad and stepmom just might try to sabotage my very own efforts to get help, basically. And so I just had to, for lack of a better phrase, play the butt boy, all while they were trying to hook me up with Allison. A lot of things just didn't help back then. Back then, every time I made a mistake, Biodad was quick to jump the gun and tell me that he was going to deport me back to the Philippines, or have me drop out of high school and join the Navy to have me cleaning toilets as an undesignated seaman during my entire enlistment. That in and of itself was a terrible, toxic, condescending, borderline psychotic bad habit that he committed towards me. I was pretty much pulling what the French resistance and the Polish resistance were doing against the Germans during World War II. Even though I don't speak that much of French nor Polish. But the notion was just pretty much the same. One of the notions that I had at the back of my head in my medulla oblongata or amygdala was that I just miss a lot of my classmates from David Starr Jordan Middle School, who by then would have gone to either Burbank High School, Monterey High School, or John Burroughs High School. And I didn't have any communications with them whatsoever. I just couldn't help but think about all of them, including a good number of lady friends from Jordan Middle School who I considered some of my biggest muses. Back then, apart from trying to please Biodad and stepmom with academic achievements, I pretty much had shifted my gears, my mental gears, towards having a long, fruitful military career after graduating from high school, with trying to set my goals of becoming a military aviator, well, officer and aviator in motion. Little did I know that something of a bittersweet alternative might be on the horizon instead of fully becoming a regular officer and going the regular pilot training pipeline. Apart from missing my middle school friends and just trying to focus on a huge military career after high school, I also thought about my mom, who Biodad left behind due to his own insecurities regarding money. I didn't realize it back then, but when I saw him arguing with my mom over the phone regarding the $1,600 that he had been sending to her back to the islands from his petty officer second class pay grade E5 pay, something just didn't sit well, especially with him displaying so much anger towards my mother. I guess just one of the things that had me going for a legal name change to take up a Japanese name when I was 23 years young in 2013. Back to Allison. Well, the persistence of both my dad and stepmom continued until I enlisted in the Navy. That was like right around 2006 and 2007. Throughout that time, they were taunting me about never amounting to anything as a human being, and just saying that I'm an ugly piece of crap overall. It just didn't help too that I had an argument with my stepmother every now and then about being in America and just having the notion that I may be able to date somebody that's not Filipina, be it white, Hispanic, black, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Thai, Burmese, Mongolian, Uyghur, Tibetan, what have you, Indonesian, Malaysian, whatever. The thing is, with me trying to say that, she would countermand by consistently telling that I am, not telling, but reminding me that I was a piece of work. That in and of itself, it wasn't a really healthy thing to say to a child. And that right there is what I'm gonna convey in some of my future videos, folks. Things came to a head in September 2007. I was like a month away, barely a month away from reporting to Recruit Training Command, Great Lakes, Illinois for Navy boot camp. Back in our new home in Coolidge, Arizona, it was me, my stepmom, Allison's grandmother, and Allison's mother sitting in a circle, with Bio Dad being in the outer portion of the circle. Long story short, I just had to go on a tirade regarding how I really don't want to marry a Filipina, and being in America that I actually wanted to marry either white or Japanese, well, mostly Japanese. And all the ladies were stunned. Bio Dad was just sitting in the background, not saying anything, and just letting me take all the verbal bullets from those ladies as I got angry in front of them. Allison's grandmother and I later had discussions of how the poor girl went through abusive streaks from her own father, and that both Allison and her grandmother, and maybe even her mother, needed my help. At the back of my mind, though, all I could just think was that, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I need to fix my life. Bio Dad messed it up for me. He divorced my mom, and he basically abandoned me just so he can play suck up to his second wife. Of course, the madness didn't end there. Upon graduating from boot camp on December 7th, 2007, the 66th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attacks during World War II, I was assigned to Apprentice Technical Training, ATT, in neighboring Training Support Center Great Lakes, or TSC Great Lakes. I was in a barracks that pretty much mirrored Navy boot camp, but not as bad as Navy boot camp. During one of my phone calls to Coolidge, Arizona, I pretty much had a tearful breakdown regarding the cruelty of Bio Dad and Stepmom, and why they couldn't help me achieve one of my lifelong goals of marrying outside the Filipino race, especially to a Japanese woman. All Bio Dad could say was a great statement of mockery towards me. He was like, "Oh, you're 18 now. Even though things didn't work out between you and Allison, you're 18 now. You're free to pursue whichever woman you want to pursue." Is that it? I gotta ask, is that it? I couldn't help but feel a great amount of disgust in my mind when I heard Bio Dad say that stuff in a very patronizing manner. Did I ever tell you that the madness didn't end there? I kept in contact with Allison's grandmother for a few more months, several months. Our contact came to a head in 2009, and we had a falling out because I was just really angry about everything that I went through during my pre-teens and teenage years, 7th grade to graduation from high school in 2007. Long story short, I had a huge meltdown in which I screamed at the top of my lungs about not getting help from Allison's grandmother regarding getting a girlfriend when I was stationed in Japan. Of course, a lot of fallouts happened since then. Bio Dad even asked my grandmother why I did that. And my grandmother just answered she didn't know. I even got in trouble regarding sending Bio Dad a letter in which I laid out his shortcomings and mistakes as a father, to which he almost had me sent to Captain's Mast. But I did not go to Captain's Mast. Instead, I got 2 letters of caution from my squadron commanders. Throughout that, my admin officer was worried about me. And I could understand why he got worried, because of me having problems overcoming the troubles that I had as a teenager. And so I got out of the Navy in 2011. 3 years later, I made up my mind that I just might give Allison another chance. If not as a potential girlfriend and lover, but perhaps just as a friend. And so I messaged her on social media, just asking how she has been and whether she even looked at me as a bad person. Long story short, we were fair friends for a couple of years before a huge disaster on social media had me falling out with her. I joked to her about telling off her mother just so she could be a pageant for Miss Philippines. This didn't sit well with her because she was so close with her mother and she couldn't tell her mother off whatsoever. And so a month later, I tried to remedy the situation by trying to tell her grandmother that, hey, I'm sorry. I only wanted to make her laugh. It wasn't a piercing statement directed towards you or your daughter. Allison's mother, that is. Nothing came of it. Allison's grandmother, in the end, she basically told me off, telling her daughter, Allison's mother, that does Allison even like this pig nowadays? This little pig monster nowadays? I could pretty much figure out the answer to that, considering that I was the one being called pig monster. All in all, though, Allison's grandmother was right. She has indeed moved on. I believe she has married an older gentleman, somebody that's like maybe a decade and a half older than me, and now probably has, I don't know, a kid, maybe even 4 kids with that gentleman, for all I know. I can only hope to God that her marriage to that older gentleman was out of love, has been out of love throughout the years to this day. That it's a peaceful one and that she's very happy. All in all, I cannot stay mad at the girl. She even told me that she tries to maintain positivity throughout the years, and that I should do the same with good vibes. I should have listened back then, but I didn't. I sulked because of all the tragedies that happened on my end. It wasn't until maybe a week and a half ago that I started thinking about Allison again. In a corner in one of the warehouses where I was stacking boxes for international delivery, holds for delivery, I just broke down and cried while I thought about her. I tried box breathing exercises, but I was just shivering with great sadness and misery towards what had happened between me and her. I just let the tears flow until I eventually stopped crying. I don't know how long it lasted, but it could have been like for 15 minutes straight that I just let my eyes release waterfalls as I thought about Allison. I even told my therapist this last Monday about her, and perhaps he pointed out that perhaps it was kind of my fault that I set high standards for her. I was like, my mother could sing, and I could draw. If you couldn't sing, and you couldn't even draw really good, then we're done. My therapist, Eric, he pointed out that yes, I may have been some kind of martinet, in an essence, towards Allison. And so, that, and that was a bad thing for me to carry out. The huge standard that I set for her. Just so you know, folks, that was back in 2005 to 2006 when we were communicating through email in Tagalog, and she would send me these pen pal letters in which she would tell a little bit about herself. And some of the details in which she said that she could draw and she could sing. And for that, I was apprehensive because in one of my home videos, I could recall that Bio Dad and Bio Mom sang a duet of Perfect Strangers by Doug Mallory and Anne Murray. And their voices were just harmonious towards singing that lovers duet. I mean, if Allison and I couldn't sing like that, then perhaps we weren't meant to be. I could tell you right now, folks, too, that perhaps if I were to meet one of my middle school muses later on and go to a karaoke with one of them, then perhaps we could do a job just as good as Bio Mom and Bio Dad did when I was 3 or 4 years young. I really don't know, folks. I just had to keep in mind about some of the things that my aunts said towards me regarding Allison and I not being compatible with each other. And so, I think I could just end this video with the letter that I would like to read to all of you. The letter that I wrote personally to Allison regarding why she and I couldn't be together, even as just friends. So, here we go. Dear Allison, it's been a long time. Hope you've been well after all these years. What I'm about to tell you will all be translated in Tagalog, as I do not speak the language anymore, all because of the things that had happened many years ago, as you may know already. So please, bear with me. I'm writing to let you know how sorry I am for parting ways on bad terms with you in December 2016. When I joked about you telling your mom off about the Miss Philippines pageantry, I had only meant to make you laugh. There was no bad intention behind that joke at all. Looking back at it, I absolutely wish I had not. I'll start off by saying that 5 years ago, I befriended a white girl named Jemima Billings, born in September 1994. We met at work in 2021, Amazon Riverside. From then on, we became best friends and have gone on outings together. In a number of ways, she reminds me of you. I'm now thinking my time being with her is my way of making up for losing you as a friend. We could have spent time together, going out on fun trips and enjoying each other's company in great friendship. But alas, we never did. In fact, I'd visualize you and me eating at restaurants, drinking shakes together, watching movies, singing karaoke, walking on parks, going on theme park rides, playing video games together, and the works. The problem is, they never happened. I'll tell you why. In 1997, I was 7 years young. I was SA'd by the eldest son of one of my biological mother's close friends. I never told her or my biological father about it, as I thought it would have brought shame to the family, somewhat like what happens in Japan, China, or the Arab countries. Ever since then, I had nightmares. I would also cry and shout angrily out of nowhere during classes in school at Colegio de San Juan de Letran, Calamba, Laguna, during elementary. Other kids even teased if I had lady bits for body parts. It was extremely cruel for me to take, honestly. I also had difficulty making friends from 7th grade all the way to senior year of high school. In 7th grade, at David Starr Jordan Middle School, Burbank, California, I had only a few close friends. They were a Slavic girl named Kylie Pasarov, a blonde girl named Alice McDowd, who was like a big sister to me, and a Japanese girl named Mayumi Nishiyama. Please take note that these girls were white and quote-unquote other Asian. I don't even remember if I befriended a Filipina from that school. Regarding these muses, I have since separated from them and currently don't know where each of them is now. In sophomore year, 10th grade at Reseda High School, I was short-term friends with a Korean-American girl named Junie. Because of troubles and toxicity back in my apartment in Canoga Park, the one where bio-dad, stepmom, and I lived, I obsessed over Junie as a big way of coping with the twisted twos, hot-tempered, psychotic antics, and nonsensical ramblings in the house. I remember that time I argued with your grandmother about her supposedly not helping me out with getting a Japanese girlfriend when I arrived at the Naval Air Facility, NAF Atsugi, from my duty station in the Navy back in spring of 2009. Honestly, she actually gave me some profound advice. Me, I was too short-sighted and angry to see it. I don't know, but the phrase $10,000 reward for your potential arrival in America rang in my head badly so much that I couldn't help but feel so angry, sad, and scared about everything that had happened since then. It didn't help that my uncle, Lawrence Subido Miku, died on January 24, 2009 from enlivening himself, a few months before I went on my first aircraft carrier deployment. Looking back at it, I've since felt bad for your grandmother. I also have to mention other issues that I have faced in youth, too. During our pen pal letters, our correspondences online, I couldn't help but think if you were just faking everything that you said about yourself. So when it came to Biodad trying to hook me up with you 2 years later, I faced a great insecurity about us being together overall. I was so scared that you would look at me as an animal who couldn't do anything right in life. Regarding you being able to sing and draw, I have to ask you this. Were you just pretending to be such? If I asked you to sing a song by Michael Jackson, U2, Green Day, Pat Benatar, Madonna, or Britney Spears, would you be able to do so beautifully? If I asked you to draw Sailor Moon, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Voltus 5, Mazinger Z, King of Fighters, Resident Evil, or Power Rangers, would you be able to sketch out the lines elegantly, even if you don't color your drawings at all? Somehow, I doubted you would. And that is not to insult you or anything sinister regarding all that. Being an SA victim and having suffered so much physical, mental, and emotional torment from a lot of unsavory individual creatures throughout the years, I had rendered myself emotionally unavailable to have you as a live-in partner. As a matter of fact, I missed out on several fragments of fun and happiness that I should have had growing up. You wouldn't believe the kinds of abuse Biodad and stepmom committed towards me before I found out about you. From threats to have me take up dance choreography, aka ballet, instead of letting me move up in Navy JROTC, the military cadet program in Reseda High School, to threatening to have me join the Navy without a diploma and clean toilets On a ship I get assigned to as an undesignated seaman during my enlistment. What kind of kid would not get angry at all those threats? Not to mention stepmom taunting me about having fun in Japan instead of trying to find a significant other. She said all that in a very condescending way that I couldn't bear to listen to her eventually. We finally separated from each other's contact during a fateful phone call when I was in training, aviation electrician's mate A school, in Naval Air Station, NAS Jacksonville, Florida, in the spring of 2008. The toxic behaviors by those two majorly contributed to why I eventually left for the Navy in haste and away from those two. Crucially speaking as well, I argued with BioDad about how you were way too young back then for a fixed marriage. I don't mean to step out of line, but it seemed that your mother and grandmother tried to pass you off as 18 years of age, even though you were only 15 back in 2005. If that was the case, please tell me. I'd like to let you know that that was not appropriate. It's never now, and it will never be so. Despite BioDad trying to alleviate my worries that the youngest woman I could marry would be 10 years younger than you, quote unquote 10 years younger than you, directed towards me by the way, and the oldest 10 years older than you, directed towards me again. I couldn't help but feel that something was indeed way off and definitely wrong 21 years ago. Not to mention that I was still reeling from BioDad and BioMom's facts-based divorce in 2001 due to perceived money problems by the former entirely. Because of these, I had a hard time with my social development and had to seek therapy a good deal to overcome my own cognitive dissonance. I hope to see that you see this as my way of now overcoming my struggles throughout the years. Around mid-2007, your grandmother's offer of $10,000 did not sound so good anymore. All I knew was that I wanted out of Coolidge, Arizona for good. I just hope you understand that in spite of me not taking the offer, I somehow still wish the best for you since then. Even though we never got together for a meaningful relationship. Venting aside, pertaining to your grandmother, for every time she tried to offer words of wisdom to me when it comes to getting a Japanese girlfriend, I should have listened. For every time she said that she was going to pray for my safety and prosperity for the rest of my life, I should have listened. For every time she told me not to worry about helping you get to the States anymore, I should have listened. For every time she told me to quote-unquote forget the past, I should have listened. But all in all, no, I did not. I let fear, anger, doubt, sadness, and my very own insecurities as a person take over and get the best of me every single time. I should not have done that. And so I have to take responsibility for those reactions. Those being said, I've led an alright life so far since then. I managed to petition my mother to come to America after I got out of my Navy enlistment in late 2011. I now have a number of associate's degrees and bachelor's from various Southern California colleges, as well as 3 certificates of achievement. I hold a green belt, 5th Q, in Shrinji Kempo, and have taken other martial arts as well, like Taekwondo, Shotokan Karate, Hapkido, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai kickboxing, shoot wrestling, Eskrima, and Naginata Do. I played soccer and softball at my current workplace at the airport, LAX, and love it. I've also taken the Army's helicopter pilot program and gotten a high score, 65 out of 80. That cements my flying dreams, perhaps. Regarding continuing education, I'm still in school, completing requirements for my associates in aviation administration, AS from GCC-LA. I'm now registered to take the following courses this fall semester: Airline Operations and Aviation Psychology from Cyprus, Intro to Music, Intro to Dance, and Modern Dance Techniques 1 from GCC. These are all while I train in Muay Thai and Naginata Do in order to prepare for Army Boot Camp BCT next year. Pertaining to my enlistment in the Army, they raised the age to 42 years old. I'm currently 36. So I'll be fighting to join back into active duty as an aviation soldier. Specialty 15U, MOS 15 uniform, Chinook helicopter mechanic air crewman. If I should ship out to BCT a little later, maybe I'll have 3 or 4 more aviation courses left to knock out as well, pertaining to drone operations, private pilot, flight simulator training, and aircraft engine systems. I've also earned my PBL student permit last year in August, courtesy of FAA. I took the exam at Whiteman Airport, Pacoima, home of 1950s rock singer Richie Valens. I guess this ought to fuel my application for flying in the US Army as well. These are all part of my redemption arc now, I guess. Another thing to enjoy. I've watched all the sports teams I wanted to watch. Dodgers for baseball, Lakers for basketball, Rams for the NFL, LA Kings for hockey. I've watched many games in those team stadiums. I just haven't watched the Angels, Chargers, Anaheim Mighty Ducks, LA Sparks for the women's basketball, and LAFC and LA Galaxy for Los Angeles soccer. After all, if we stayed together, I wouldn't have experienced these spectacles these years. And I'm sorry if I said that. I just hope you understand now. And you? Have you reached your own redemption period yet? I'm curious, that's all. That's all I have now. I think I've said enough and way too much. I know it's a lot of bad history and good developments afterwards. But I hope you now finally understand what I went through as several years passed by. I had to ask you, what's new? I hope you're now doing fine with your career, whatever it is, and that you're raising your child or children well. In 2017, Bio Dad told me he already had a daughter by then. It was one of the only phone calls I ever had to make to him. As of now, he and I are not on speaking terms. I suppose those things are best that way, as he's caused me and my mother too much pain to ever reconcile with him. For what it's all worth, I'd just like to let you know, as well as your grandmother and your mother, that I'm very sorry for all the pain and trouble I personally caused towards all of you. I can only ask for your forgiveness at this point in time. And also, please know that I can only wish you and your family the best moving forward. Next year, I'll enlist in the Army to continue my military service as a helicopter mechanic. After a few years, I should finally become an officer after service as a sergeant, senior NCO, through either the helicopter pilot or the aircraft maintenance warrant officer option. I think in ways, this might be your present for me. If it is, then I want to thank you so much, despite all the bad things that happened between us. Solely about your grandmother. I fully understand what she went through, particularly her falling out with stepmother, due to stepmother never paying the $5,000 she owed your grandmother. Now, I can only hope that she's found peace after all that trouble. I will now close with this. Please don't hesitate to write back anytime. I look forward to hearing from you after so long. I know we parted on bad terms years ago, but still, know that I care, even only as a former and distant friend. Please, tell your grandmother and mother too, that I am very sorry for every offense I committed to them. Again, as I mentioned, I do hope that they've found peace on their ends alongside you. Until then, goodbye for now. With all the friendship, care, and respect in the world, Reiji, Minato. End of letter. Just to get myself reoriented to the now, July 1st, 2026. I have significantly improved in my physical fitness. For rapid fire push-up exercises, the minimum that I got was 81 repetitions, and the maximum that I did so far was 118, 118 reps. If that is not impressive in and of itself, then I don't know what is. Let's see here. I just gotta ask as well. Can any of my former Navy colleagues do that? I doubt they can. They're either too lazy, too overweight, or just apathetic, or too prideful of themselves to even do that many push-ups. Not saying that out of arrogance, but just a little bit of a subtle point of pride for myself. After all the things that I had been through in school, growing up, and serving as a junior enlisted airman in the United States Navy many years ago. And of course, yes, there's me continuing my martial arts training in preparation for Army boot camp next year. Muay Thai and Naginata Do, as I mentioned in my letter to Allison. If those things don't keep the future alive for me, if those things don't keep the dreams alive for me, then I don't know what will. Even to those that I had large beefs with during my Navy enlistment, the many petty officers and chiefs that I didn't get along with, I don't have any contempt for them anymore. As a matter of fact, I thank them. They have helped me, indirectly helped me, get to this point in time. A time of recovery, a great time of healing, and a significant time of redemption for myself. That said, I think I've said too much, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals. For my next video, I will be addressing a lot of social issues that I encountered in the Navy, particularly any of the dealings that I had with the so-called, quote-unquote, Filipino Mafia, which is the one of the subcultural gangs in the fleet. Other stories as well, I will also mention. Anything that I could remember, I will also mention. That being said, I'll see you in the next video. Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals. Until next time, Red Hawk, out. Sorry. Peace.